what I need is somebody that has some notebook paper. I think maybe I could borrow some of that. I don't know. I just need 2 pieces of paper, and I need 2 volunteers. So if you're a volunteer, you can go ahead and come up to the front. Everybody settle down. Not everybody at once. All right, seriously, somebody come up here. There we go. There we go. Sweet. All right. So yell out your name real quick. Cassie. So Cassie and all right. So I want you to go put this right by that bench on the floor. And I want you to take this one over by that bench on the floor. And so Cassie, you can go over there and stand with Sylvia. All right, so we have a piece of paper on both sides of the floor right here. And so if the piece of paper over by them, if this paper over here represents our core groups, all right, getting people involved in a vibrant core groups. And then this piece of paper over here represents everything we do at Welcome Week, okay? So contact tables, our first service, all the stuff where we get contacts from people, right? So this is all the contact tables, and this is core groups. The question is, how do we get people from that piece of paper to that piece of paper? And so they're on opposite sides of the room. And what I want is for Cassie to try to take Sylvia from that piece of paper to that piece of paper. She can't touch the ground. And so you're trying to get her there in one step. Go. And one, yeah. So we're not going to let her think about it too long because it's impossible. roll her, okay. So what's the problem here? It's impossible, right? And it's almost like silly to even think that. Okay, so what are our options, Joe? Okay, that's a really good one. But let's say the paper has to stay stationary, and you're trying to do that anyway. So what do you mean by take? Listen, what do you mean by take the paper to her? Absolutely, right? And so the way that let's say the paper stayed there, the only way that you can get Sylvia to the other side of the room is by taking her there somehow. And it probably means that it's not just going to be you. You're probably going to have some other people that need to help you, okay? So you might put her on your back and walk over there, but we could come up with some creative ways, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. People could lay across the ground, which I don't think anybody's interested in that right now. So she's never touching the ground on her way over, all of these different things. You can sit down. I guess I just needed props. But you guys understand that getting from there to there is actually, it doesn't happen by accident. Think about your core group experience last year and think about how you got connected to your core group from the beginning of the school year until then. What are some things? I just want to hear from the freshmen that are now sophomores. I want to hear, what was it that happened in your process that got you to core group? Okay? Shout one out at me. A donut and a letter. Okay? So we tried really hard to make the donuts legitimate and official looking so that people would be okay to eat them. But a donut, right? So why would a donut be that impactful? Was it impactful for you at all? Why is that? She said it was a nice thought that somebody cared. Okay, what else? What? Sports? So why do you say sports, Ethan? Okay. But when was the first sport that you played? It was Frisbee. Yeah, and it was right when he got here. And so he didn't just be like, yeah, I'm going to go to core group. By the time he got to core group, Ethan had already probably had a donut that he couldn't eat, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. And so he probably was like, oh, thank you, and then threw it away. But he had a note from Luke probably, which is kind of romantic and cool. But and then he went and played Ultimate. And then you probably ended up at the first service, is my guess. Met a few more people there. And then by the next Thursday, had been to core group. So I don't know how many times that you had contact with people from the first day that you got there until your first core group, but it was a lot. And so that's what I'm saying. What are the things that happen all the way through here that get people to core group? I'm saying it just doesn't happen by accident. And so what you're going to recognize is that you got a lot of work to do. And it's going to be worth it. It's going to be really cool. So we figured all this out. So we got all these things that you can do to get people there. Liz was my example last year because Liz ended up jumping in a car with a bunch of people that she didn't know to go to our house, But that was a pretty big step for her to make. But if she never did that, she wouldn't probably be here today, is my guess. She saw people at Walmart talking about Chi Alpha, Madeline, who's at UIndy Chi Alpha, is the reason that we even know Liz, because I think you guys met before Liz ever got here by total random accident, which obviously we don't believe that anymore. But it's pretty amazing the things that had to happen in order for you to be here. Is there anybody else that can share something that like why you're here when it comes to that? Nikki? Okay. Yeah. And it's really cool because I actually forgot about that night. We had a those of you who couldn't hear it, we had a party type thing at the Chi Alpha house. It was probably like, I don't know, yeah, it was a welcome back thing for the Chi Alpha students that were gone. It was probably, I don't know, 20 people there or something. And Nikki came and Carrie. And so it was the first time that we met them. Well, that's way before the first service ever starts. But now they know people. Now it's a different level of comfortability. And I'm saying all of those things are super important. And I just want to encourage you guys to find ways to do that. It was really, really intentional on their part. So, yeah, the 30-second follow-up that they had, super quick. How many of you guys would say that your first interaction with someone in Chi Alpha with the donut and the note was somewhat awkward? Just raise your hand. That was you. Does it matter? Maybe with some people, but you're here, right? And so that first encounter with people, even though it's like I don't know this person, like for me, guys, that's my area, okay? Talking to people that I don't know is totally cool with me, all right? I enjoy it, probably too much, but I enjoy it. Some of you guys, it may not be your first thing. I want to go talk to somebody that I've never met before and try to generate a conversation out of thin air, all right? That's like terror, all right? I know that, but that effort that was made is important. It is valid. It does work. And so anyway, let's move on. So we're trying to do as much as we can to get them from there to there with as much effort on our part as possible and as little effort on their part as possible. So what did we do? Do you guys remember how you got to the first service? Somebody tell me how you got to the first service, the first night. What? How'd you walk? Right. So Tanner has it right. Does anybody else remember how you got to the first service? A lot of you? Yeah, you met. What, Joe? Oh, no. This is not the perfect example. But apparently, Joe and his friends were going to a different service that happened to be feet away from where we were meeting. Oh, my goodness. That is amazing. So he followed the chalk and apparently got lost at the end and ended up at our place. That's awesome because apparently God was walking people to there. I don't know, but maybe it was just a mistake. But what about the rest of you? Tanner? Luke met them and walked them over. Okay? That's a different level of commitment because you're not just showing up to a group. You're meeting somebody and you're somewhat accountable because you've probably been talking to them. If you don't show up, they're probably going to send you a text saying, hey, we're leaving. Where are you at? How many of you guys did that in some way, shape, or form? That's how you got to the first service. It was a lot more than that. But that's all right. So, but that's one thing that we're going to do as well, is we're going to meet and walk together. And that's just another way to do it. So let's go to the first thing, number one on there. What is going to be expected here of you. What are you going to have to do to make this work? Number one is work. Number two is work more. And then number three is work a little more. So what seems easy is the next blank. What seems easy to everyone else will take a lot of work for you. Now, this is not meant to scare you. It's just meant to be a reality check. I was reading in my devotional time. We finished up doing the dishes, and then I had some time. I've been reading through Proverbs, and I love that I came to this morning. But it's Proverbs chapter 20, verse 4, and you guys could even write this down. The verse reference to look up maybe. But it says, sluggards, so lazy people, do not plow in season. So at harvest time, they look, but they find nothing. I'm just going to tell you that the season to plow is going to be the first 2 weeks of school. It's going to be the most work that you put into anything. But I know that these girls can tell you that when you get to the end of that, the payoff is unbelievable. It's not describable. When you see the first week, Anna standing in the corner taking a picture, like crying, trying to like be able to see, like, man, God did something amazing. Why? Because they were willing to put in the work. And I'm just telling you that if you guys are willing to do that, you're gonna see amazing things happen. So let's go to Followup, and that's that section just below it. The two stages of fall startup are pre-meeting, so the names from move-in day and welcome week and all that, and then post-meeting, which is all the names that you get from the first service. Because we're going to be passing out flyers like crazy, people are going to be around, all that stuff. What we're talking about is the 48-hour follow-up. That's one of your blanks there, I think. The 48-hour follow-up. So after the first meeting, we must make personal contact with the student within 48 hours about your core group. A week later is too late. They're gone, all right? Like, who's this random person who's trying to talk to me right now? And you know how many people meet in the first week of school? It's crazy. And so you have to be diligent in your follow-up. So what is the definition of personal? Somebody have an answer for me there? What? Face-to-face. That is personal contact. It's not a text message. It's not a phone call. It's a face-to-face meeting with every single person. So Allison told you she had 1 billion contacts. And what 1 billion means is 42, I think. That's a lot of contacts to follow up on face-to-face. It can be a little bit overwhelming. But was Kelsey one of those contacts? So she could probably tell you not everybody that she followed up face-to-face with was in her group. One of the problems is we had one Central Girls group. So it's kind of difficult to follow up on 40 contacts. This year, we're hoping to have 3 Central Core groups. So that's a little easier, obviously, to follow up on that many people. But through Kelsey, you met Ryan, and Bella. So you have no idea where those lines are going to go. And that's why face-to-face is super important, because the people you do get connected to, God's going to move through those things. So if your contact isn't home, you come back later, okay? You don't leave the donut outside and and say, sorry, I missed you. You work it out to come back later. Now, in our situation, the reality is you're probably going to have to be texting this person, which is what happened a lot last year. You're going to randomly meet up with them because their schedule's going to be busy or whatever. You're going to give them the donut, the note, talk to them, whatever. So you're going to have talked to them ahead of time and worked out a place to meet. So all I'm saying is face-to-face is the most important thing possible. Some of you guys know Sonia. I think, who was it that did that with you? Both of you guys? So I know that Sonia was like, this is the most awkward thing ever, But she still talks about whenever they met and how important it was. She said she was like starving. She had an audition for the music school, and she was walking in with no food, and here they come walking up with a donut. It was like the perfect possible thing, and it made an impact, that has lasted in a relationship, So going to how does that play out? Follow up. So here's the first thing. Pray earnestly that God will lead you to the faithful guys or girls that he would desire for you to pour your life into. So your recruitment starts right now. It starts this weekend in prayer. Make the people you meet during follow-up your mission. We're going to get it real simple for you. That's your mission, is those contacts. It's easy when you think about it like that. It's a lot of work, but at least it's simple. These are the people that I'm following up with. Make contact with as many new people as possible. So we're helping people move in as much as we can. We've moved in some people because we had some early move-ins. We did some of that this week. So some of you guys already have core group members and you don't know it yet. But it's kind of cool because we got connected to them before. What you're going to find is there's going to be things from time to time that you can help people with. We have some more move-ins on Wednesday that we're going to ask you guys to help them move in so they can meet some Chi Alpha people. They already are interested in Chi Alpha, and that's the first contact that they're going to have is with some of you guys. And then throughout Welcome Week, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do. So you can you're going to help them move in. You're going to introduce yourself to everybody you possibly can at the first Chi Alpha service. We're going to actually split up into our core groups and do like a reception thing outside at the first service. And so you're going to meet a bunch of core group people that night. Remember we did speed friending with our core groups at the first service, those of you guys who were there? Think about our first service. Every single thing we did was to get you guys connected to core group, right? I mean, everything. Kenji shared his testimony. Do you guys remember what his testimony was about? It was about how his core group changed his life, And one of you guys is going to be sharing that testimony this year. You don't know who it is, and I don't either, but something where God used your core group to transform your life. We want people to know that. We want them to see that this is what we're doing. So you're doing all of those things. You're going to make as much possible contact, meet as many people as possible the first 2 weeks. Do it with a genuine attitude of concern for your new friends. All right, so here's the thing. This is the balance, is that you're going to meet a lot of new people, and you want to get them connected to core groups. But why? It's because you want to see God do something in their life. You also want to recognize that some of these people are not going to be in your core group. And they might not even be in Chi Alpha. But there's still people that are at IU, still people that we need to genuinely care about no matter what they decide to do. People can tell you that in their process of choosing a ministry to be involved with, for example, I'm not saying, man, you really need to choose Chi Alpha because all those other ministries are pretty bad. I'm not saying that because, number one, I don't believe that. Number two, I think it's a bad attitude. It's not the way that we're trying to approach ministry here. I feel like Christians in general, they're going to choose things based off of their own criteria. I believe that God's going to, like you're saying, if you're praying for these people, I believe God's going to lead the right people there. And I hope that we have a heart that's willing to help anybody, anytime, anywhere, regardless of the payoff for us, that we can just recognize that we're planting seeds and we're doing God's work. So anyway, that's really important, is checking your motivation throughout the process as well. So the third thing is introduce yourself. So it says it sounds simple, but it's often forgotten that you can just go up and start having a conversation. And then part of the way through the conversation, and I do this sometimes too, they're like, oh, by the way, I'm whatever. And I was like, oh, yeah, I probably should have cared enough to want to know your name, And introducing yourself will obviously open up that opportunity. But just, telling them who you are. Number 4, take a personal interest in the student. So keep things fresh by asking atypical questions. So so you meet somebody for the first time on campus. You just met a freshman. All right, okay, let me ask it like this. You guys were freshmen somewhat recently. What did people ask you when they met you? What's your major? Okay. What else? Where are you from? Where do you live? All right. How many times, what's the over-under on how many times you're going to hear that in the first week of school? Hell yeah, it's like 1,000. It's probably accurate, because everybody's going to be asking you that question. The question that I would have is, what could we do to not do that? To take a personal interest in somebody, and not a super weird way, there's some super personal questions that we could get into maybe. But what are other questions that we could ask that we're interested in your life? Joe? You know what? It does. Like Joe said, ask them how they're actually doing, basically adjusting to college, or how are they doing in welcome week, getting adjusted. That's a great question because honestly, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I could totally see you asking that. Some of you guys could probably like relate to this, and somebody just like breaking down crying. You know what I mean? Because that's how it is for some people. You don't know what kind of week people have had. You know what's going on financial aid. And people have an emotional connection there that we all have, whether it could be to their family. Maybe they came here from, Sonia was here from Texas. We have people here from all over the place. An international student. Like I was talking to an international student at our, we were doing a welcome thing last year. He's from China. And I said, yeah, I just wanted to know if there's anything that we could do for you, taking you around town or helping you out. I said, because I know you guys are far away from home and you don't really have anybody here and you might need something. And he was like, we do need help. We're thousands of miles away and we have no family. It's instant like connection because he knows that we recognize a need that's going on in their life. That's a great one, Joe. And it's something you guys could ask, like, because you could even share your personal experience in that as well. I know how it was for me last year. How are you doing adjusting to being here? What else? Atypical questions, right? You could write that down, by the way. Any other ones down because you want to be thinking of these things. Because you're going to, as soon as you ask the question, what's your major, you're going to be like, oh, man, I just did it, It's okay if you go there, but what else? What's another good question? See how hard it is? You actually have to put effort into it. What else? Do you have any allergies? I like it. That's true. Yeah, if you're bringing them a donut, you know that they can't eat it. Sorry, we didn't ask you that, Ethan. Do you like wolf shirts? That would be a good question. Probably because Ethan would be wearing one. It'd be an easy question. Somebody raise their hand over here. Yeah, siblings. That's a good one. We talked about that with the other guys. Like, how many brothers or sisters do you have? That's cool. Like, I knew Jordan Morning for about, 6 months before I knew that he had a twin. Exactly. I knew Seth for 2 years before I knew anything about his family at all. Those are questions that are important to people, and you'll find that kind of stuff out as you go. Here's what I would say. For me, I'm still going to ask where people are from. And the reason I'm going to ask that is because I know a lot of places in Indiana. And I have a lot of connections to a lot of places in Indiana. So if I ask somebody where they're from, chances are I'm going to have something to follow up with connection-wise that is going to take the conversation somewhere, So I didn't have, I can remember some of these conversations, but when I first talked to Zach and found out where he was from, I didn't know anybody in Colorado, but I knew some churches in Colorado, and we at least had something to talk about that was from home, and he was talking and I was talking. It wasn't some like earth-shattering conversation, but it was a connection topic, okay? One thing that I would ask people too, especially with the guys, because I care about it, and you guys could, sometimes you're going to like crash and burn maybe, but I'm going to ask people if they got like season tickets for basketball, because if they've already bought them, chances are they're a decent, IU fan, and I am too, and we're going to have something to talk about, for a few minutes, and that connection is pretty cool, And so you asking those types of questions is really important, okay? And so I want you guys to be brainstorming, talking to your core group leader about when you're talking to these people, what things can you ask? Okay, go on to the next one. I think number 5 is explain what a core group is to the new friends you are making. All right, so some of you guys know this. Some of you guys haven't experienced a core group before that are here with us. But I want, as much as you can, I want you to write down on your paper about 2 or 3 sentences. We're going to take about 1 minute. Write 2 or 3 sentences about what a core group is. How would you describe it to someone? And then we're going to grade you. And you can do this if you're watching on the video too. I've always wanted to talk to the video, so it's cool. Yeah, I have to pray over you as you're doing it. Take about 30 more seconds. Maybe less. All right, this is what I want. I want 3 people to come up here and share what you wrote on your paper. All you got to do is read it off the paper. A couple people. All right, hopefully you wrote something because I'm going to start calling people's names. So Ryan, why don't you come up here? Seth, go on, head, come up here. And Zach. All right, so Ryan's going to go first, and then we're just going to kind of evaluate this. And by the way, we're picking on them a little bit. They may be exactly right, but the reason that we're doing this is so that you guys can form this in your brain and actually be able to explain it to someone well. Because what my experience is, somebody asks you that, and you're like, well, it's, you know, like you have no idea what to say. So we're basically trying to figure out what we're going to say.
Mine's super cheesy, but I said, a group of people who support you and genuinely care for you. You meet once a week to grow in your relationship with God, laugh, and cry. The weekly meets turn into daily as you become best friends.
That's right, we can sit down, right?
Let's hear Seth. Follow that.
Mine's more dude appropriate. But that's just a bunch of dudes chilling.
You're good. I won't.
That's it.
Okay, say it again.
That's just a bunch of dudes chilling. Genuine fellowship. And junk.
And junk. All right. Good job, Seth.
I said core group is a smaller sect of the larger group, a place to hang out and make good friends while getting into the Word and learning about Jesus.
All right, give it up for these guys that volunteered for that. All right, so tell me what you guys think about what they said. What do you think was most accurate? What jumps out to you about what they said? Somebody just chilling, genuine fellowship. Man, we got 2 Seth comments right off the bat. I wasn't expecting that. What? I couldn't hear you. Okay. Best friends. Jinx. Real relationships. Okay, guys, come on. All right. So, what I'm just going to tell you this. Like, I know Ryan said hers was cheesy, and I'm not like I think that everything that was said, if you put it all together, it's like perfect. I just think that Ryan absolutely nailed it with her description, because she included these things that like here's the difference. This is what I think with what Zach said. Zach has experienced core group not only here at IU. I think he's experienced something similar before he came here, like things that him and I have talked about. Like it wasn't just a small group experience that he had. It was something where these guys genuinely were following Jesus and wanted to reach people. I mean, he got to experience that before, which I think is amazing. And so he understands that. The question is, how does he communicate that experience to someone who has a totally different experience of what a small group or a core group is? And I'm saying the more that you can draw a distinction between those things and then follow up on it and actually do that, actually become really close friends, I think that's what you're going to do. The way I describe core group, if you guys had this in your brain at some point, I'm sure, is whenever I was in college, the guys that I played soccer with were like my best friends. And to this day, they still support us financially every month. Almost all of the guys that I was friends with support us financially every month to do Chi Alpha. Almost all of them were at my wedding. And I lived in Indiana, and they lived all over the country. And they drove and flew to my wedding to be there. To me, those are the types of relationships that we're trying to get to in our core groups. That may be high expectations for you, but keep the expectations there. Because the deeper that you can go with them, the deeper relationships that you can build with them, the better off you're going to be. So in describing it, you're saying basically we're going to be best friends. I think that's one of the best descriptions of core groups. Best friends who are pursuing Jesus together is the best description that you could give for core groups. And the reason you want to set the bar that high is because that's your expectation for your core group. And there's a reason why that's the expectation. So explaining it, working out how do you share what a core group is. Like in Seth's way, he may only make minor adjustments, but if he's saying dudes chilling, okay, that's Seth, all right? He's not going to be Ryan, like smiling and, whatever. He's going to be like, well, it's dudes chilling and junk. And that's okay. What I'm saying is give a little bit more description than that maybe, but saying it your way is cool. I mean, I think that's good. And then the sixth thing, let's move on, is invite the person. Well, let me go back to explain. When you're meeting these people, these opportunities may provide a chance to share your testimony from core group, especially. Like sharing your experience from last year in core group is a super, amazing opportunity to share with them what a core group is. If it impacted your life, like Richie, if you can share what your core group meant to you last year to someone else, that's going to be the most impactful thing. Like, let's say Richie meets another person that was homeschooled who came to IU. I'm guaranteeing you, Richie could get that person connected to Chi Alpha in a heartbeat because he recognized there's a drastic change of him going into college, but his experience is huge. The God's going to use those experiences, and you sharing those experiences are really important. So you guys that went to Ben Davis, and you're still connecting Ben Davis people to Chi Alpha, using your experience in Chi Alpha, basically being about your core group to these people and emphasizing, hey, you need to get involved in core group because this, and this is going to be the most impactful thing that you can do. Now, if they're not interested, if they're interested in core group but they can't come to yours, what do? Yeah, we have other core groups, right? But what does that mean? What do you do? Sorry, I have class on Thursday night. I can't come. What? Go change your class? Right. So what is interesting about it? She said, let me introduce you to this person. What's the alternative sometimes that we do? It's like, oh, well, we have other core groups that meet, No, you take that person to someone else, and you make sure to establish that contact, and then what do? You follow up, and you make sure that person got connected. So let me give you a little insight from my perspective. I love the idea of working with other campus ministries. From my perspective, my only issue with someone who's involved in more than one, well, there's a lot of things about being involved with more than one, but a freshman is that the only thing I don't want to happen is where they aren't going anywhere and nobody knows. Because we think they're connected there and they think they're connected here. Well, that's the same thing in your core group. You think that, yeah, they got connected and they're involved in that core group, but because of not following up on it and knowing maybe with that core group leader, maybe they forgot to call or whatever, but you take on the responsibility to hand that off. You're talking about somebody's life potentially being changed just because you made an extra phone call or text message or whatever. So, all right, so then going to number 6 is invite the person to come at a time and place that you have predetermined. All right, so what we put on here as examples are inviting them to the house party. So we did a thing last year, which I want to do again this year, but I want you guys to take control of this, is we had people go over to the Chi Alpha house. That's where Nikki met Chi Alpha and Carrie and all these, I think there were a few others probably that were there that night. That's a super easy thing to say, hey, we're hanging out tonight. Chances are they have nothing to do because they barely know anyone on campus, so they're more than likely to walk over with you or to do something with you. We just helped that girl move in the other day, and she immediately asked Haley, do you want to come to dinner with us? I mean, everybody's thinking that, So they're going to go and be at these different activities that you guys are doing. Ultimate Frisbee. Hey, we're playing Ultimate. You find out that they play sports. Well, then you're going to come play sports with us, And if you're not a sports player, making sure that you're connecting them somehow with what is happening, because that's the way they're going to connect. All right, so invite them and walk them to the Chi Alpha service. That's going to be super important. If you set up a time to meet, what do you need to do? Be on time, okay? It's not that cool to be late, even like 5 minutes late. What we're talking about, getting somebody from this piece of paper to this piece of paper, the thing that we do not want to ever do is put a roadblock in front of that, and not being on time is a roadblock. Let's say you give them 10 minutes to be like, well, they're not here. I was kind of thinking I didn't know if I wanted to go anyway, so I'm just going to go back to my room. Opportunity missed, just from something simple, So number 7, let's skip down. Pray with eyes wide open. So we're trusting God, and read this with me. I think it's on your sheet. Trust God to perform a miracle before your eyes by providing contacts, interest, conviction, friendship, and commitment. These things coming together are always a miracle of God's Spirit working hand in hand with our efforts. Trust God for a miracle. It is a miracle that we had. Chi Alpha last year was a miracle from God. And each of you individually could share things as to how those things happen or how you got connected, that God was working on your behalf. That's a miracle. Why did it happen? Because people were praying. People were working. They were trying to get stuff done. Okay, so I need 2 volunteers. 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. Joe, come on up. And we'll say Stephen. Come on up. All right, so you guys stand right over here. And then, Stephen, why don't you come here real quick? So what Stephen's going to do is he's going to be scenario 1, all right? So we're following up with someone to get them involved with core group, okay? You've gotten their name, and now you're going to go to their place, and you're going to ask them to come to some event. You're going to bring them the donut. You're going to talk to them, whatever. You guys got that? So you've written out this note. You got a donut. You're meeting them face to face, and you're trying to just make a connection with them. So keep in mind all the things that we've done. Joe, Joe's a good person to get this started. What I want you to do is basically, we're acting out this scenario, okay? And so Joe's coming to Stephen's door. He met him at Culture Fest or whatever. He got his number. He's actually never met him, because somebody else got his number. And so now he's following up with him. He's maybe been texting with him. He shows up at his dorm and comes to the room, and this is your scenario here. Got it? All right, so Joe's going to come and knock on Stephen's door. Stephen, you're back here hanging out in your dorm room. All right, let's see how it goes.
I love taking there sometimes because it will change your life. But anyway, now that you have that, I just want to let you know about this thing because it's awesome. And also let's just go and meet some people on the floor because I know it's kind of weird to just go on your own. So here, let's just go and that door's open. So. Hey, Derek.
Hey, what's up?
My friend Steve, he's on your floor. You guys should be friends.
Sweet. How are you? Good to meet you.
Alright, so anyway, actually you can come and join us too. It's just this awesome thing called Chi Alpha. We're going to be meeting up in a week. And I gotta tell you just a little secret. We have this thing called Crescent Donut. I don't have one on me, but if you come, I can get you this amazing donut. It's going to change your perspective on life.
Okay.
But anyway, it's just this Tuesday, and also Stephen, I don't know you want to just grab some lunch. Alright, Derek, you doing anything?
Yeah, I'm busy. No, no, I'm interested too. Let's go. That'd be awesome. So, give it up for these guys. Good work. What, did you notice, what was Stephen, basically we could see Stephen was interested, right? So what do you guys think Joe did well? Everything? Okay. So Joe's kind of a natural, right? So you guys are like, this isn't really fair, maybe. But it's kind of funny because we did this with some of the guys, and it was, with Tanner specifically. Tanner's not a natural in this setting. I think in real life he might be, but he's just not comfortable on stage, maybe. I don't know. But tell me the thing specifically that you think Joe did well. Did you guys notice what Joe was doing? Right. Okay. Right. But no, Joe responded to something that Stephen said. What was it? Yes. Joe was like, we're going to take care of that right now. Let's go next door and meet a friend, And, okay, so he like took initiative there. I mean, you got to be, I know he's up on stage. Joe's going to be reading whether this is the right thing to do or not. He's taking a parade around the campus or whatever. But he could see Stephen's receptive. Let's go with it. All right, what else did Joe do well? What? Absolutely. Nothing awkward at all about that, right? That's okay. Not everybody's going to be perfect at that, but that was great because he wasn't relying on Stephen to carry the conversation. The reality is you are the one filling the awkward silences, okay? So if you don't want there to be awkward silences, then don't stop talking, I guess. I don't know. Which is good for Joe because he doesn't have a problem with that, which is probably why I'm more natural in that too, because we naturally talk more. But what else do you think Joe did well? Right. It was kind of normal. Yeah. He said, "How are you adjusting to school?" He introduced himself, said he was with Chi Alpha. They probably already talked. His first question is, "How are you adjusting to school?" Well, to me, the reason that seemed natural is because he was connecting with Stephen immediately. It wasn't this weird thing of like, "Hey, I'm from Chi." It was like he was instantly engaged, right? But the interesting thing about that with what he just did is Stephen was kind of interested in meeting people. Obviously, he was volunteering that information because it was important to him, right? And Stephen, actually, that is kind of your experience, right, at IU. So that's why it worked out. So give it up for these guys. Have them sit down. All right. So two more people here. Two more people. Let's get a couple girls up here. What? Oh, that's fine, yeah. Hey, just turn it up. We're not going to have them talk into it, so just pick up as much as you can. All right, so Michaela, come on up. I thought you were actually standing up. I wasn't looking, so I guess it worked what they were doing. So come on up, Michaela. Somebody come up and volunteer to help out Michaela. No, Tanner's already done it. He's paid his dues. Another girl. All right, Kelsey, why don't you come up here? All right, so Michaela, you can go over there. You're going to play Joe's part. Kelsey, you got the easy part. Okay, so this is your scenario here, scenario 2. So basically, like, got it. All right, so Michaela's coming to her door, and she's going to be talking to her about Chi Alpha. She's bringing a donut, etc. And let's see how it goes. Talk loud, by the way.
Hey, Kelsey. Hey, I'm Michaela. Hi. Nice to meet you. You too, Michaela. So what are you up to?
Just getting my room together.
Oh, yeah? Is everything going well? You need help? You got it going?
No, I think I got it covered.
Good? Yeah? Well, I have a donut for you.
Oh, thanks.
And a note. How you doing? I already said that. Crap, I'm bad about this.
What are you here to talk about?
Chi Alpha. So I'm with this group called Chi Alpha, and we just hang out a lot. And I don't know, I like to eat food, so we eat often. But it's a good place to come and meet a lot of people. We play sports. I like sports too. I don't know, do you like sports?
Not really.
No? Do you like to eat food?
Yeah,
you like
actually,
to eat food.
I only stopped by the booth just to get the free snow cone.
Oh yeah, I know. Snow cones are so good.
Yeah, that's it though.
We have lots of other food though too. Taco Bell, we go to Taco Bell a lot. But yeah, it would just be really great to see you there, and maybe sometime we can go together if you just have want to meet up.
Yeah, of course.
All right, give it up for these guys. So, all right. So Good job, Michaela.
No.
I'm serious. None of these other people were forced to come up here. They're all cowards anyway. That's the only reason you had to come up here. So I guess you are too. But what we're doing here is did you guys hear what Kelsey said? I know she's super quiet. Yeah, so she came because she wanted a free popsicle, basically, that we're going to be giving out, and that's why she put her name on the paper, and now she's got somebody following up with her that she doesn't really want to talk to necessarily. So what is important in this context for Michaela to do? What? So make her interested in coming. Might be a little bit difficult if she's not interested at all. All right, Allison? Yeah, maybe inviting her to the third places kind of thing, but also a recognition that she knows where this girl is coming from, and she really did only sign up for the popsicle. So I still don't want to play sports with you either because I know what you're trying to do, Joe. That's it, right? I mean, what did we talk about before? We had to talk about having the right heart, having the right attitude. This is still a freshman who's still adjusting to school. She's just not interested in Chi Alpha. And so saying, you know what? That's okay. If you need anything, you got my number. I've been here for a little bit. I've been in your situation. You don't have to get connected to anything. But I just want you to know that if you need anything at all, I have a car, If you need anything at all, let me know. No pressure with it. We just want to say welcome to IU. And we're excited about you being here. That's fine. That's it. You know what I mean? You've done your duty for the day. Okay? So give it up for these guys. I know it's difficult. All right, 2 more. Hurry up. Let's go. Run up here. Okay. That's not going to happen. Holden, come on up. And Richie, come on up. They're wearing some nice shirts. All right, so let's see here. What do I want to do? All right, Richie, you're over there. Okay, so Holden, I got the scenario for you. So Richie, you're just going to knock on the wall. Got it? Okay. All right, so Richie's knocking on the door. Let's do it. I don't know if you knocked loud enough. So either Holden is ignoring Richie or he's not home, right? So nobody's coming to the door. What does Richie need to do? Leave a note. Come on, Tanner. He needs to come. He may leave a note, but he's not leaving the donut because he's doing that face-to-face, right? So he's going to come back later. So that was the easy one. Good job. All right. So why did we do that? We're going to do more of it, all right? Here's the unique thing about it. I made it kind of easy on you guys because I had one person go up at a time. Sometimes it's even a little harder when you have 2 people go to a door and you're like, hey, I'm Tanner and I'm Holden. And, it's like, you got to kind of learn how you want to approach that because it's not like a show that you guys are putting on. You're just introducing yourself. So, one more natural way, if Joe's going to the door with like Ray and they're following up on some people or whatever, it's okay for Joe to be like, hey, I'm Joe, this is Ray, we just wanted to stop by. You just start talking. And then there's conversation that comes out of that.